All right, boy, do we have a great show for you guys tonight. Very excited, and we are looking forward to chatting about how you can get published in an anthology. But first, our introduction. If it's Tuesday, that can only mean one thing. And that one thing is it's time for Comic Book School Live. My name is Buddy Scalera. I am your favorite comic book writer. And you know what? I'm joined tonight by your favorite TV screenwriter, Mike Fasolo, who I would love to be able to have him join me. And wait, here he is. I didn't know which button to press.
You never do, but that's okay.
I never do. Mike, I noticed that you're wearing a hat, and so am I. Tonight's a special night because March is Hat Month, right, Mike?
Absolutely. That's why we chose to do hats.
It is Hat Month because we decided on Sunday in a random phone conversation that it would be Hat Month. And right now it's Hat Month. And this first hat that I'm wearing honors my father. His nickname is Toons. And I think it's the law. If you grow up in Newark, you have to have a nickname.
Oh. Why was he called Toons?
I cannot tell you that. He's an Italian guy that grew up in Newark.
Maybe he could.
He could, but being an Italian guy in Newark, it is required. And are you going on safari? What's happening here?
This is my sun hat because, as you know, I don't have any hair. So when I go out on the, into the sunshine of California, you got to protect the head.
I love it. I think it's great. Do you wear that out of the house?
Yes.
That's pretty much confidence for your wife that you're not trying to pick anybody up.
Yeah. She knows better. I think she picked it out for me. No, you'll wear this hat. All right.
You'll wear this hat. So I have to tell you, Mike, I'm very excited because we're about to have a show that helps writers and artists. Mike, you do a little bit of dabbling on the keyboard yourself, don't you?
Every now and then I dabble, yes.
You dabble. In fact, you've won 3 television Emmys. There you are again. You were outside, but you weren't wearing that hat.
Well, it wasn't too sunny that day.
Wasn't too sunny that day. But it's sunny now because we bring James Aquilone to the show. A little ray of sunshine coming out of Brooklyn. James, how are you today?
I'm doing great.
I love your hat. What is that hat that you have on?
That's Aquaman.
Oh, Aquaman.
Yeah.
Now I could see. I thought it was a Star Trek logo.
I know. It's the newer, I guess, Aquaman logo. Yeah, growing up with the name Aquilone, a lot of people would call me Aquaman, and I was a big fan of the Super Friends too. So I got it.
James, you look like a big man. Do people say it in a complimentary way? It looks like you might rend their arms from their body.
Yeah, that's when I was a kid. No one calls me Aquaman lately. I don't think well, no one has mistaken me for Jason Momoa.
I almost
not
did.
yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
I almost did.
Maybe one day.
So it is Hat Day. You definitely are on the right place, Redheaded Ed. I hope you're wearing a hat. And I was thinking, who are you talking to, Glenn? About who are you go out like that? There's 3 of us on the show now, Glenn. And neither Mike nor I know how to throw a punch, so I'm hoping you're.
I can run pretty fast, though.
Can you? Yeah, I'm not even a good runner, obviously. So, James, tonight we're going to be talking with you about something very near and dear to your heart, which is publishing. And you are an anthology publisher. We've spoken with you in the past. We will include a link back to your episode in the show notes. And also, a link back to all of your different places. So you ready to get started and help our students learn about pitching to an anthology?
Absolutely.
All right. So first, we do acknowledge that it's Hat Month. I've already done this. It's terrible show planning, but here we go. I made this graphic, Mike. I know you're wondering. You're like, how
that
did
is pretty awesome.
Such a great graphic, and Redheaded Ed's probably screaming right now. You might lose your hat if you run.
It's got a strap, so it doesn't come off.
No, look at that. He's got a strap. So I made this graphic myself. James,
I like the plain white background. That's good stuff.
Yeah. So James, if you need a graphic designer, I made this myself.
Oh yeah, I'm always looking
with clip art. So anyway, we did talk about that. So first, let's talk about Monstrous Books. Love the title. Absolutely love the logo of Monstrous Books, and also think the logo for Shakespeare is pretty brilliant as well. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Monstrous Books and what you do, James?
Well, this is the first time anyone's seeing this logo, so you got an exclusive here.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah, I just got it. It was Darren Robinson, who does all the logos for DC, or most of them. He did the logo.
Did he do the one for Action Comics #1 in 1939? Yeah. He did.
He did the new Action Comics and the new Detective Comics.
No, from 1939. Did he do that one?
The original.
Unless he had a time machine. He did not. But he did the new one.
He did the new one. So love the logo. Beautiful. It is super cool. And then also this Shakespeare cover looks fantastic. What is this?
This book is a bunch of horror short stories and poems, mostly sonnets, based on Shakespeare's work. So, some of the Shakespeare's works are already kind of in the horror genre. So we make them more horror. And the ones that aren't horror, like the comedies, we put the horror spin on them. So some of them are like a prequel to Hamlet or a sequel. Some of them are just, inspired by. And we have Jonathan Mayberry in there, Joe Lansdale, Lisa Morton. I don't know. There's a lot of people in the book, and I forget most of the names. But we also did a comic book.
Tell us about that.
Opening comic book. It's going to be about 40 pages, manga sized.
Nice.
And there we have stories by David Avalone. I wrote a story, and Jeff Strand. And then the art is by Helena Marcellus, Marco Finnegan, Zach Atkinson, and J.K. Woodward. And J.K. Woodward did the cover here.
You do this all off the top of your head? Do you remember this off the top of your head? Or are you looking at a list?
I should have put a list in front of me.
Yeah. I can't remember Mike's name. I have a little tab that says it's
in the prose anthology, there's like 40 people in it. So I can't remember all of those people.
All right. So here's the deal. So where are we going? One of the things that triggered this was this submissions page that appears on the Monstrous Books website. You could see the URL there on the bottom right corner. It's monstrousbooks.com. You can just go to the landing page and there's a submissions page. And what grabbed my attention immediately is that you pay real money, like actual dollars.
Sometimes, yeah.
Which is astonishing in this age of the internet where nobody wants to pay for anything. And that triggered a thought, which I want to talk with you about, which is submissions to anthologies and what our audience can do to better their chances of being accepted to an anthology. So first, let's get started with this. James, do you have some sort of preferred list of creators that get an advance notice that you're about to open submission guidelines, or you've opened the floodgates to the internet all at the same time? Mike, are you getting ready to take some notes?
The floodgates. I
was hoping that you wouldn't catch that. I just thought I'd let it go.
Usually the books I do are partially invited people, and then I open up submissions. So it comes out to maybe 60% invited and like 40% they come from open submissions.
So 60-40, that's
something like that.
That's pretty significant. If you're culling from an audience of creators who will be able to turn in work, I'm guessing.
Yeah, because after working with the same creators like over a few books, then you get to learn who you can rely on and who you can't. Some people are like months late. Some people don't answer their emails. So then you kind of like, oh, don't invite those people anymore. But
well, I know that by the
cool.
way, Philip Burnett said verbose stories pay better then. So he's going to overwrite his stories. It'd be like the length of The Stand for a.
No, actually, so now I would give you the opposite advice. If you're not a superstar and you want to get into an anthology, write the shortest story possible.
That's a good piece of advice. I never well, you'd give that advice to me, but not to Mike. He's won 3 TV Emmys.
Mike can write as much as he wants.
As soon as they start paying per word, then I'm in.
Yeah,
right,
so
James,
paying per word. So if you're just starting out, and let's say I say you can write from 1,500 words to 6,000. It's going to be harder for you to get in if you write a 6,000 word story than if you wrote the 1,500 story.
All right, so James, tell me now, the 60% I get. I'm surprised that you even leave 40% open for new creators. Talk to me about how creators can better their chances of getting their submission in front of you, and how that they can nurture a relationship with you.
Like I said, write a short story, definitely, because a lot of times I do see new writers writing really long stories or even going past the guidelines, the word count. And usually the people you invite, they will write up to the maximum, almost always. So editors usually then are looking for those shorter stories. Mm-hmm. Or the problem could be that you've already are nearing your overall word count for the book. So now you're invited these people, and let's say your target word count for the entire book is 80,000 words, and you're already up to like 60,000. So now it's going to be hard for you to squeeze stories in. So now you're looking for those short stories, those like 1,500 word or 2,000 word stories. So you can really up your your odds by writing those shorter stories.
So tell us again what the word count is. It looks like 1,500 to 6,000 words. Yeah. Is that what we're seeing?
Yeah, and like I said, almost all the invitees went with like about 6,000 word stories. Like Joe Lansdale just totally disregarded and did like a 9,000 word story.
Yeah, so, Joe Lansdale can do whatever he wants.
Joe Lansdale and Jonathan Mayberry too did like a 7,500 word story, which is fine. But if you're not Jonathan Mayberry or Joe Lansdale, and you write a 9,000 word story when the max is 6, that's an automatic rejection.
So do you think that Joe Lansdale brags about knowing you? Like, I know James Aquilone.
I don't know. I don't even know if he knows me yet. I mean, so I'm just happy when he.
How did you land the Lansdale story?
Well, he's been in a couple of my books. He was in my previous book, Classic Monsters Unleashed. Well, I'm also the managing editor of Weird Tales magazine, so I get to edit a lot of these guys through the magazine, and that was the first time that I got to work with him, was with Weird Tales. So I edited one of his stories, so he was kind of aware of me. So when I reached out to him for my first book, which was Classic Monsters Unleashed, he said, well, that I got a reprint from him. And so then when I guess he trusted me after Classic Monsters because it did really well with Kickstarter. So then when I came up with Shakespeare Unleashed, I invited him and he said yes. And I was like, oh, that's awesome, because I wanted an original story from Joe. That'd be really
nice get there, James. Well done. Now, you did mention Kickstarter, and in the pre-interview that Mike and I do in a cold, cramped room with you, we sit entirely too close, and you were like, oh, Kickstarter is a great way for people to break in. Can you talk about that a little bit? Not about being trapped in a room with us, more about Kickstarter.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's how I started with my anthologies, and even my first novel I did through Kickstarter. It's really hard to land a publishing deal, just from if you don't already have a name and you're just doing it cold, just sending out submissions, it's tough. So, you don't want to wait. I mean, I didn't want to wait with these projects. So, Kickstarter is the way you can just go out there and get your stuff done. I think, especially in comics, I think with comics, it's even harder to get the publishers, to put your work out. So, so I never trusted that anybody would publish me. So I figured I'd have to do it on my own. So that's what I did, and the first anthology I did was Classic Monsters Unleashed, and we made almost $60,000. So then it got people's attention.
Wait a minute. Just back up a second. How much did you make?
Almost 60 grand.
Wow, that's more than Mike makes in 2 years, right, Mike?
What?
That's more than you make in 2 years.
Oh, two if I was lucky.
All profit, but yeah, it was ended up being like the biggest horror anthology ever on Kickstarter. Prose anthology, not comics.
Congratulations! Did you have a distributor and everything before you like all set? Like we get the Kickstarter money and now we can get everything done, or was it just we need this money to do it?
I do a little bit. I do a minimum because I don't want to put all the money into it until we do the Kickstarter, but I do put money into it beforehand. So like when you launch the campaign, you do have to have the artwork. You have to have the writers and artists already attached to it. And usually I already have some of the stories. Now that I'm more established with that, I have more, when I do a project, I have more of the book done. But the idea of the Kickstarter is that this is really, this is like maybe a year before your book is going to come out. So you want to help fund it, but you also want to use the Kickstarter funds to help grow the project. So, you might start out with, like, if it's a prose anthology, it might be a book that you only have, like, say, 20 stories in it. But if the Kickstarter gets bigger, then you can add stories. And that's what I've done usually with the Kickstarters. That's why I've been able then to take more people in through the submissions. So that's because usually then it was more like 50-50 or invitees to the open submissions. But then if the Kickstarter does really well, then we're able to add more slots then. So it does help then if people then support these projects, because then it usually makes for more opportunities.
Yeah, and you can see it right here on your submissions guidelines page that you tied it into a Kickstarter, which is great. It adds to your mailing list. I completed a Kickstarter recently, and you get a mailing list. So now you start to build up that audience of people who are interested in your work. I basically just converted them to my OnlyFriends page. No, what is it? What is the page?
OnlyFans.
OnlyFans, my OnlyFans page. That would have been so much better if I had gotten it right. But thank God, Mike, you know where the paid adult material is. So, James, again, so people, they see the submissions. Tell me, what is it that people are doing right and what are they doing wrong that would increase their chances of being selected by you? So first, start with some mistakes that people make when they send a submission in.
Well, the first mistake is that they don't read the guidelines. And then they some people will submit stories before we're open. Like I said, there's usually a maximum amount of words that you could write your story with, and they'll disregard that. So that's the first thing. Definitely, read the guidelines and follow them. Because if you're getting a lot of submissions, you want an excuse to reject something, so you can just, clear that out of your inbox and move on. Yeah. So if you're making stupid mistakes like that, like not listening to the guidelines, that's another easy rejection then. Sometimes that actually makes it easier for me then, because
you have to filter out, right? Yeah. You got Joe Lansdale and you want to make some space, and then Mike Fasolo comes in and you've got to make space.
Right.
Now you have to filter other people out. You have to filter out lesser talents like Buddy Scalera, or no talents, I should say, like Buddy Scalera. All right. So what is something that somebody does right? We were talking about this over email. What is something that somebody's done right that you were like, that's a pro?
Well, again, then if the guy they've they adhere to the guidelines and everything's formatted. That's the first thing you see, and then you go, okay, this person knows what they're doing. So then you get off on the right foot. This is just prose, so there's no art or anything involved. So the right thing to do is write a great story, and usually what's going to really help you is that opening. You have to have a really good opening.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people, a lot of the submissions I get, that opening paragraph is just really dull. And then again, like I said, if you have a lot of submissions, you want an excuse just to reject it and maybe not have to read the whole story. So if that opening paragraph is just really boring or there's typos in there, then you can just move on. So that's what you want to make the editor's job as hard as possible, so that they don't reject you, so they get to the end of the story, because they're always looking for an excuse to just say, all right, delete this. But that's going to help you be professional, stick to the guidelines, have an awesome beginning, and then your odds of getting accepted are going to go way up.
So the ones that start with "it was a dark and stormy night" are just pushed right aside. That's
just deleted. Yeah, and all the ones that have like a typos right there in the first sentence, which I've had. Or it's another good piece of advice. It's like, spell the editor's name correctly. I've had a few of those. Or they call me John. They say, "Hey John,
love your work,
Jack." Just get the name right.
John, big fan. So John, when you're getting these submissions, cover letter, body of email, important, not important? Talk about the body of the email when somebody emails you.
I don't think that the cover letter or anything like that is too important, but write something. I hate when someone just attaches a story and there's no words in the email at all. At least say, hey, here's my story. You don't have to give me like a bio or anything like that, but say something at least. At least say, here you go.
Read this. It's
so easy nowadays to just attach a document to an email and send it off. Back in the day, you guys are probably too young to remember this, but you used to have to like mail your story to an editor. You have to put it in an envelope. You have to go to the post office. Now you just can attach it, to your email, and it's really easy. So that's why now, when you have these calls, you get hundreds of stories, because people will send you anything. Even if you're looking for horror stories, you'll get, romantic science fiction stories, and they're just hoping that you might accept it, which you won't, but they're just wasting your time.
So James, I know I'm a little young. What is an envelope? What is that?
Let me see if I have one.
We have a question from the audience. Redheaded Ed asks, what is an example of a good first submission that would catch your attention? And by that, first submission email, Redheaded Ed asks, what's a good example of a good first submission that would catch your attention in an email?
Like I said, like just having a really good opening, because we're talking about prose, so it's a little different than if we're comics. Because then, if it was comics, then I'm looking for you could probably catch someone's eye with just like a really good art, And again, just to stick to the guidelines and just show that you're a professional and what you're doing, and you know how to put together a submission.
Mm-hmm.
But with prose, it's tough, because you don't know. You can't just look at it. Like if it's the comic book submissions and I just look at the art, immediately I can tell, okay, this is awesome or not. With a short story, sometimes you don't know if the story is any good until you even get to the end of the story. So that's more time consuming. But I would say that, just be professional, know the editor's name, spell everything correctly, run it through, and don't have like AI write your stories.
Don't go hating, James. Don't go hating. All right. Well,
that's an issue now. People are doing that. There's submitting short stories written by AI.
So Redheaded Ed is taking you to task now. She's doubling down. But you said the email body should have something in but if it isn't interesting in the email, you pass. So she's, I know Redheaded Ed doesn't love to write cover letters. This is someone part of our group. She lets her work speak for her, but she doesn't love the cover letter process. Can you just talk about the cover letter?
Yeah, I mean, I don't pay too much attention to it because if I'm getting a ton of submissions, I don't have time to read that. So I'm just looking for some words that just don't have a blank email. I mean, you can get away with just saying, dear editor, here's my submission. Thank you, and then your name and maybe like a bio of like 1 or 2 lines. But most likely the editor's not going to read that anyway until maybe after they finish the story, and if they like the story, they'll maybe go back and check out the cover letter, because you really don't have time to read a cover letter.
Now, do you want a photo of Mike when he sends you a submission?
Shirtless.
Or do you just want a photo of Mike in general?
No, yeah, because you don't want anything. I've had people like drawings and stuff when it's a prose anthology, all kinds of crazy stuff. You get crazy submissions. Like don't say in the submission how this is going to be like a big story that it's going to get, Hollywood's going to come after you, and like you better accept it now because you're going to rue the day if you reject my story.
Rue the day? Rue the day? Who talks like that?
Is that why I haven't been accepted by anybody yet?
So 5 sentences and a thank you.
Yeah, I think that's good. I mean, I like it to be nice and short.
So Glenn specifically wants to know if there's 5 sentences, James. There's
exactly
5. 4 doesn't work. Hold on. So is it terribly obvious if ChatGPT writes something? Is it obvious if ChatGPT writes something? Asks Philip Burnett. James, what are your thoughts?
Supposedly, now there's Clock's World, which is a science fiction website that they publish science fiction short stories, and they had to shut down the submissions because they were getting so many AI written short stories. And Clock's World usually gets like thousands of submissions a month, and they were just flooded with it. After the Chat GPT kind of took off a few months ago, so it's become an issue. I mean, I haven't gotten anything yet
that you know of.
Exactly. If that's the case, then it's pretty good. I mean, I've been playing around with it, and it is bizarre. Sometimes they get things right, and it's weird, but sometimes they get things really wrong.
They do, and I don't know if you know this. Mike is an amazingly lifelike AI.
It's getting very sophisticated.
It's a deep fake.
It's a deep fake. It's a deep fake. All right, so James, let's get back to business here. So we're almost done. You're doing something with Crystal Lake Publishing. Can you reveal anything about this secret project that you're working on, or what you're doing for Crystal Lake?
Well, Crystal Lake is now going to do comic books, so they have a comic book division, which they put me in charge of.
Congratulations!
And, soon we're gonna have our first comic book project, and we're doing a Kickstarter. I'm not sure when we're gonna launch it. Probably this summer or maybe even the fall. But I can't talk too much about it. But we're pretty well on the way finishing it.
Well, that's pretty awesome. Congratulations on that. We're pretty excited for you. Philip Burnett calls you Mike Skynet Fasolo. Oh, and you passed the Blade Runner test.
Oh.
I don't know what that is, but okay.
Well, the test to see if you're a replicant.
Oh, I haven't seen it in a long time.
No, you have not. All right. So congratulations on this. I'm sure that's a big achievement, James. We're looking forward to seeing what you do with that. And when you open up submissions, we want to be first to know about it.
Yeah, because we will be opening up to submissions, and we'll probably be looking for graphic novels and even series and stuff. So that's one of the key things that we want to do, is to open that up, especially to writers, because I know how hard it is for writers to get into comic books. So we really want to give people opportunities to get into comics.
That's fantastic. I think that's wonderful. All right. So James, what's one piece of advice you wish that you had received earlier in your career, or just early in your career?
Oh, I wish I had started earlier in my career, because I wanted to do this for like since I was like 17. But I didn't really get seriously, get into it until like I was in my late 30s. So
Wow.
I wasted like 20 years. So
I don't know. Did you do anything during those 20 years? Were you just sitting around?
Sitting on OnlyFans.
on OnlyFriends.
Yeah.
You know what it is, Mike? I've heard we're only friends so many times.
It bleeds over.
It bleeds over. Okay. Well, you wish you had gotten started. That's a good piece of advice. They're still talking about you being, you are a Cylon. Do you get that reference?
That one I get, yes.
That one you get. Okay. And then after 03, it's the same thing. So obviously a sci-fi group here. They know their movies. James, could you just stick around for a few more minutes? Because right after this, we have Mike's trivia time. Now, this is a special part of the show where our our 3-time Emmy award-winning screenwriter gives our fellow writers a little bit of information about trivia that they might be able to use in their writing. How is that tee up for you, Mike?
It's good. I still don't think it should be called trivia, but it's.
What do you think it should be called? What else is it?
I don't know, like inspiration or maybe story possibilities.
Oh, by the way, we're lowering our budget. So, James, when we put you in the green room, we usually have Twizzlers. Yeah. There's only red vines today, so I'm very, very sorry for that. No offense.
You have red vines and Hydrox instead of Oreos.
Hydrox. Holy cow. Well, it was like you were punished. Your mother was like, I got you Hydrox. It's almost the same thing. You're like, Hydrox is like eating dirt.
Hydrox are the originals, just so you know. There's a little bit of trivia for you.
Yeah, it's like when you go to your grandma's house and she has RC Cola and you're like, why do you hate us, Grandma?
Diet right.
Diet right. All right, Mike, talk to us about the trivia. This one I think will appeal to James because it has to do with scary.
Yeah, this is I'm gonna completely mutilate the name, but it's a ship called the Orang Medan.
Wow.
And it was one of those ghost ships where there was a distress call. Another ship called the Silver Star went to check it out. And when they got there, the entire crew was found dead. They all had these horrific expressions on their faces. Even the dog had like this snarl, like locked into his face, and they died. They have no idea what happened. They have some different possibilities. But this all took place in 1947 or 48 around Malaysia. And to this day, they can't say exactly what happened to the crew.
Can't or won't? Is it a cover-up? Is it like a Roswell thing? What?
Yeah, so they don't. There are actually ideas out there that it was an alien invasion, that they came down and they killed all the people, and I don't know why they would just leave the ship floating there. But the funny thing is, even the Silver Star, the rescue ship that went to check it out, there's no record of it actually ever having been there. So it's a big mystery.
I got a little chill up my neck. James, what do you think? Is this a good writing prompt? Can you do something with this?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ghost ships are always good. And it's great. You put them on the ocean, figure out what happened, and it can be a cool mystery story.
It's not Gilligan's Island. That's for sure.
They might have
Burnett is blaming time-traveling cyborgs on the, what is it? Orang? Orang Medan?
The SS Orang Medan.
Zombie pirates, of course.
Yes, that actually is. Ghost pirates is one of the possibilities.
Wow. Yeah. Is that going to be on your OnlyFriends channel?
That's my next entry.
That is. It is. It's like a Flying Dutchman type of thing, or a Philadelphia Experiment thing, or like a Flying Philadelphia Experiment.
Yeah. So you can just take this basic idea and run with it and see what you can come up with for the what happened actually to the crew of the ship.
What do you suppose happened, James?
Well, when I first saw that pitch, I thought it was from the movie Nosferatu. So I'm going to go with a vampire.
Oh, that's a good one.
Wow. I like it.
I like that.
I like it.
I like the futuristic cyborg pirate one. That's a good one too.
I'm going to encourage people who are part of our Facebook community to go ahead and post what they think it might be, because we are stimulating great minds. And oh, look at that, Mike. You have Burnett. Burnett gave you the shout out.
Yes, you're welcome, Philip.
You're welcome. All right. The Search for Aquilone. I thought it seemed like a good movie title, doesn't it? Isn't it a good movie title? The Search for Aquilone. In search of. I'm pretty sure this is where they can find you in most places. I know that on your personal account, you even have a link tree, which means you're probably a pretty big deal if you have a link tree.
Yeah, very big deal.
What's your preferred platform? Is it Twitter or something else?
Mostly Facebook I use, but I'm on Twitter as well.
All right.
You have to be.
Gatilla thinks that maybe someone put tinfoil in the galley microwave. That's what killed the ship. I don't know. Who's to say? All right. Well, that's really good. And what's the last thing here? Mike, we have a pretty big achievement on our own. Let's pat ourselves on the back. So, James, here as we announce 10,000 views some 2 weeks ago. We are skyrocketing. And if you already don't know the routine, any human on the planet knows, like, comment, and subscribe. That definitely will help and help us put on a better show. James, thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure to have you on. And when you're ready to announce your submissions, please pop back on and just let people know, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on the show.
All right, James, we're going to put you in the green room, as Redheaded Ed noted. Budget cuts. There's red vines there, but you can have pounds of it. It's
Okay.
cheap. Yeah, and RC Cola.
Plastic.
Yeah, White Rock soda. That was good, huh, Mike? I learned a lot, didn't you?
Yes. And I think it's great that he gave us a heads up before the submissions. Time comes for the comic book thing.
Oh, I'm interested. I'm actually going to look to see if he's open for prose, because I like to work around the keyboard a little bit with nouns and verbs.
Prose, like
prose.
That.
Prose. So, have you ever written a prose story, Mike?
I have, on occasion.
Not your thing?
Yeah. Well, no. Most of my stuff is, I guess screenwriting would be prose because there's no pictures.
There's no pictures, but I'm definitely going to submit. Hold on, let me just check. You're going to take submissions from me and Mike, right? Like, we're going to be top of the list, right?
Absolutely. Just spell my name right.
Yeah, he just wants to be let out. He just wants to be let out of the green room. Thanks, John. We appreciate
John
it.
Aquilone.
John Aquilone said we're in. So anyway, we're gonna leave on this note, Mike. Apparently we did a pretty good show tonight. We got the approval of Burnett, and we're so no pictures yet. So, but pretty soon you'll be drawing your own pictures, Mike. Your little stick figures when you retire. So, Mike, good show. Nice job. We will see you next week on Tuesday. Thanks for joining us. Comic Book School out. Yeah, I put up the wrong one.
You did. That's